Identity is a confusing thing, right? It means different things for different people. Now for me, it means answering the question, who is Timothy Armoo? And this is something which I've struggled with pretty much all my life. And my hope is at the end of this conversation with you guys, I'll finally come to an answer about this. So, this is actually me at 6 months old. I was born in Hackney, and I went to Ghana before my first birthday to live with my nan for 10 years. And one of the most interesting things is when you live in Ghana, you get, a really wide array of experiences. The first kind of struggle I had, I guess, with identity was when I was 3 years old. And I was watching the Olympics, 1996 Olympics, and I saw the swimming competition. And I saw how these people just glided and jetted through the water and came out looking all glorious. And I said, I want to be a swimmer. And so I did two things. Number one, I told my nan and I said, hey nan, right? Because that's exactly what I was talking at 3, hey nan, right? I like two things. Number one, I'd like some floats and a swimming trunk because I am now about to become a swimmer. And the second thing I said was, can you build me a swimming pool? She didn't go with the second one, but she did decide to get me a portable swimming pool, as you can see in the picture there. And when I got my swimming trunks and my float, I decided this is me, I am now a swimmer. And I just walked around through the whole house wearing these really short swimming trunks and these floats. I even slept in them, right? Which is hella bizarre. And when my nan's friends came along, I'd introduced myself as, I'm Timo the swimmer. That was my identity at that moment. Now, how did that phase actually end? As you can see in that picture there, I have 3 friends who are in the pool, and I am not. So how did it actually end? The first time I stepped into the pool, I slipped, my head fell face first into the water, and as you can see, it's not particularly deep, but if you're 3 years old and water just smacked into your face, you're basically drowning. So to me, I imagine I have now had a near-death experience. And because of that, I am 23 now, and I do not know how to swim. So this identity of Timo the swimmer, completely gone. The next identity phase I had was Timo the magician. Now, again, similar to swimming, I watched a TV show and I saw these magicians, and I saw how they were just commanding the audience. And everyone was oohing and ahhing at every single thing they did. And I said, I want to be a magician. And that is me right now. Went back to my nan. Hey nan, 2 things. Number 1, I want a magic set. Number 2, I realized that all the magicians basically they just look amazing. They all come out in these suits and braces and ties. So I said, I want those exact same things. So as you can see in this picture here, I have a bow tie and braces, and they match as well, just putting it out there. And that was me there. That was Timo the magician. And I performed magic tricks everywhere I went. Again, when I met my nan's friends, hello, I'm Timo the magician. And I prepared tricks for them, and they were like, oh my gosh, weren't you a swimmer 2 years ago? But it changes, right? Now, how did this end? As you can see, I had my first ever show. It was sold out. When I say sold out, there were 4 people. My nan, her friend, the gardener's friend. And they all came to my sold out show. And the trick that I was trying to do here was there's this kind of trick you do where you hold like Maltesers. You hold in your hand, but it kind of like disappears. As you do this, the whole idea is it goes into your sleeve. When I performed that trick, it stuck at the top of my sleeve. So that ended my magician phase. I was no longer Timo the magician if I couldn't do the most basic magic trick. So here I am as a kid at 3 and 5. I've had these like identity crises. I don't know who the hell I am. I'm not a swimmer. I'm not a magician. What the hell am I? So moved it to then becoming a teenager. Can't see this properly, but this is me, as you can see. And this is me at 14. And when I was 14, I was again really captivated by people like Rupert Murdoch. I know, love him or hate him, but Rupert Murdoch. And I was really captivated by the fact that he owned this media empire which he was able to use to really influence people and really change perceptions about anything. And that got me thinking, maybe my identity is to be an editor. Maybe that's it. And so what I then decided to do was I decided to run for the for the school editor-in-chief of the magazine, Vocalize. I ran, I won, and I then became the editor-in-chief of my school publication, Vocalize. And I learned somewhere that if you were to be an editor, you needed to do two things. Number one, you needed to have really square glasses, because that suggested to people that you'd read a lot. So I got myself a pair of fake square glasses. And then the second thing was I thought you needed to get these big headphones which you can then connect with a recorder and go around asking people's views on topics. And that's exactly what I did. I went to the teachers, to the students, big headphones, yeah, I'm listening to you, I'm listening to you. And that was great. I loved that. And from the age of 14 till 16, whilst in secondary school, I was the editor-in-chief of my school publication. And I loved it. And I told myself, yes, this is my identity. I am an editor. That is me. No one can take it away from me. Until I went to sixth form. And at sixth form, I discovered this thing called entrepreneurship. I met a guy called Ryan. Ryan was 17 too, and had started a blog when he was 17 and was making £20,000 a month from it. And I said, I want to be like Ryan. Because the challenge of being young and being able to kind of build a business like this was something which really enthused me more than being an editor-in-chief of a magazine. So that got me to my next thing, my first proper company. I started something before, but that wasn't really, that was kind of like play business, right? This was my first proper business. And the idea was Entrepreneur Express. It was a business publication, both online and offline. And the whole idea was, can we create a publication which inspires other people to start their own companies? Which, by the way, side note, is the most hilarious thing. You start a business to help other people start businesses. And so we had an offline version and an online version. We managed to secure interviews with people, as you can see, with Richard Branson, people like Alan Sugar, James Caan. We managed to secure these big profile interviews. And in the offline version, we managed to secure distribution deals with the country's best universities. So people of Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial, LSE, we signed up them to be our distribution partners and said, hey, this is what we're actually going to bring to you next September, and it's going to inspire all your students. So I was 17 then, and I forgot a fundamental problem with this. Print publication, nobody really reads print publication. And advertisers don't really want to advertise in there unless you are this big brand. So what happened there was we couldn't sell enough advertising to actually sustain the offline version. And so the offline version tanked. But we spent all our time invested in the online version. And we built the blog up, built it up, made some money. And then in 10 months, I got this email from a guy, I'll never forget his name. His name was Joe Murray. And Joe said, hey, I really like what Entrepreneur Express is doing. Would you like to have a chat about partnering up? I'm 17, I'm like, what the hell does that mean? But yeah, man, let's have a Skype. I had to set up Skype at 17 just for that call, hilarious. Anyway, and so he then said, actually ahead of our call, can you send over stats about your website? I sent over the stats. And then in our Skype call, he starts the conversation off and says, actually, do you know what? Rather than partnering up with you guys, why don't we just buy you guys? And I remember that image there. I was 17, I was wearing red Manchester United shorts on a Friday at 2 a.m. And he said, why don't we buy you guys for £55,000? And I said, raw. Because at 17, you're like, Jesus Christ, that is a ton of money. And I sold the company. And I sold it at 17 for 55 grand. And to me, that was my identity. I said, yes, this is it. I'm an entrepreneur. I know how to do business. And then, I started another company afterwards. Fanbytes. Fanbytes is the company I'm running now. I started this when I was 21. And I said, actually, maybe my identity is being an entrepreneur. Like, that's the thing I'm able to do. So therefore, I'm going to use this throughout my whole life. And this is what people are going to know me as. I started Fanbytes with my co-founder, who I think is actually in the audience right now. And Fanbytes, marketing company, I said, yes, this is me. We work with all these big brands. I said, this is me. This is the buzz. This is everything that I'm going to do in my life. I am an entrepreneur. When people asked me to introduce myself, hey, I'm Timo the entrepreneur. It wasn't Timo the swimmer, wasn't Timo the magician, wasn't Timo the editor, it was Timo the entrepreneur. That was my identity. Even we had things like this, featured in Forbes, even Standard. I said, yes, this is me. Every single time we had something good, I was like, this enforces my identity. But then I realized something. I realized I'm not an entrepreneur. In the same way, I'm not a swimmer. I'm not a magician. I'm not an editor. It finally struck me that actually, this was the outstanding thing here. That I just created my own identity. There was no prerequisite which said, Timo is this, Timo is that, Timo is that. There is no prerequisite which said, this is what you have to do with your life, or this is what you actually have to be. And you have this ability, to me, to be able to just create the life that you actually want and the life that you actually care about. There is nothing that says that you are this type of person. And to me, this is one of the most liberating things ever. The fact that I don't see myself as an entrepreneur, I don't see myself as a magician, I don't see myself as a swimmer. I can't swim, so therefore I can't see myself as a swimmer. But to me, the most liberating thing is I'm just Timo. And I can decide to be whoever I want to be next year, tomorrow. I could shut everything down and go become a scuba diver if I wanted to. That'd be a problem because I can't swim, but that's beyond the point. And to me, this is one of the things that I really want to leave here with. This idea of embracing the fact that your identity is not this fixed thing. It's something that constantly changes and just ebbs and flows. And anytime you have this kind of fixation in your mind that I am meant to be this person, I am meant to be a doctor, I'm meant to be a lawyer, the most pressing thing should be the fact that you're not actually meant to be anything. You literally define who you want to be. In 3, 4, 5 years, I don't think I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Lord knows what I'm going to be doing. But for me, that is where it gets incredibly exciting. And I embrace the chaos, and I embrace the fact that I have no flipping idea what I'm going to be doing in the next 5 years. And that to me is what identity constitutes. The chaos, the craziness, and the not knowing who you actually are is the most exciting part of your identity.